Welcome to Hello Port Hueneme. I'm your host Tom Dunn, and today the subject of our interview is the Olympics. And with us today we have the 1964 silver medalist in diving, Frank Gorman. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom.
It's an honor to have you here and to be a neighbor of yours in Port Hueneme. And Frank lives right here, and we are so thrilled to be able to talk to him. But I really want to find out from you what it was like to get into competitive diving, and how did you do that?
Well, it's kind of funny. I was the baby of 6 children. My youngest brother was 8 years older than I was, and all 5 of them, depending on the season, were either in gymnastics or basketball or track and field or swimming, and so I learned a lot of different sports. But when I went to high school and I went out for basketball, the coach, he didn't laugh at me, but I was 4'11", 98 pounds, and there was no place for me except on the sidelines for basketball. I talked to the track coach. He said, we don't have track until spring, so I headed over to the swimming pool. And I went up to the coach and I said, I'd like to try out for swimming. And he was looking for big guys with long feet. And he said, I don't think so, Red. I had red hair at the time. And I looked down the end of the pool and there was a diving board. And I said, how about diving? Do you have divers on the team? And he said, can you dive? I said, yeah. And so he said, okay, get going.
You weren't lying, were you?
I wasn't sure if I could dive well enough to make that team. But anyway, I went down, and that's the first time I learned that in New York City high school, boys swim in the nude. So I'm there in front of 50 students, and I'm naked. So I jump up on the diving board and I do a front 1.5. And he stops everybody and he says, hey kid, do that again. Well, I must have done 25, 30 front 1.5s, and every time a swimmer came into the pool, he said, hey, I think we got a diver. And so sure enough, I made the varsity swimming team as a diver, not knowing that that's what I started out to do.
Very persistent, and boy, in the long run, did it pay out for you. That was, even though you had to let go of a little personal dignity, you showed them what you could do.
Yeah.
So how did this lead of you going to Harvard and being on the diving team?
Well, I got lucky. I dove well in that first year, and when we went to the New York City Championships, lo and behold, I finished first. And it was the first time a freshman in New York ever did that. And then the second year, I won all 4 years.
Wow.
And some Harvard alumni noticed me after my sophomore year, and they contacted my parents and said, could we take him to Harvard? And so they brought me up to Harvard, and when I was still a sophomore in high school, I met the divers, I met the coach, and then the following year they came back and brought me up to Harvard again, and it was terrific. While I had been approached by the coach of Yale and the coach of the University of Michigan and the coach of Ohio State to go there on scholarships, this fellow, Charlie Bannerman, was the most enthusiastic and most personable, and he convinced me that between the two of us, he could make me a diving champion. And I said, yes, I want to go to Harvard.
So I take it then that you competed in the NCAA finals for diving?
Yes.
How did that go?
I was an All-American NCAA diver all 3 of my sophomore, junior, and senior years, so it went well.
Wow. So how did you, from Harvard, how did you make the Olympic team?
Well, that was actually a disappointing story in a way. I peaked in 1960 for the national championship in diving. I came third. All I had to do was come second to make the team, which the Olympic trials were just a few weeks later. And as I say, I must have peaked for the nationals because I didn't make the team in 1960. Matter of fact, only 3 men made the team, and all the rest of us, they went to Rome, and the rest of us went home. So now I've graduated college, I've joined the Navy, I'm married, I have a child, but I have the nagging remembrance of not making that Rome Olympic team.
Persistence again, huh?
I said, if I ever get another chance, I'm going to do the best I can. Well, I got stationed on shore duty at the Naval Academy, and I started being in touch with my old pals in diving again. I started getting better, and I contacted one of my good friends, a fellow by the name of Tom Gumpf, who was an Ohio State diver, and he thought that his coach, Dick Smith, might consider, now get this, I'm 26 years old, I'm married, I'm a naval officer with a child, and I'm looking to make the Olympic team in my spare time, he thinks. Anyway, Lieutenant Tom Gumpf, U.S. Air Force, talks to Lieutenant Colonel Dick Smith, U.S. Air Force, and they make a deal, and they let me join the team. And we trained every day, hours, twice a day, many, many hours, and we got good. So when it came time for the Olympic trials, we were the best we could be. And I wound up winning the Olympic trials. I was surprised to find out it was the largest margin in the history of U.S. diving. I won by over 100 points.
Maturity went out over you.
I had a good day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I made the Olympic team, and 3 of us were chosen to go to Tokyo.